Mr. Stevens, I saw you somewhere. There you are.
Yeah.
On the legal report.
Over here. I'd like to introduce once again Tori and Janelle, our legal interns, that are going to give, I guess, very, very short updates. There's not a heck of a lot going on, but they each have something to report on very quickly. So I'd like to go first. Okay.
I'm already sitting.
No volunteers. Why don't you go, Tori?
Tori?
Okay, so there was a request for an extension of the new smelt biological opinions. Early in January, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services and the Department of Water Resources requested a 3-year extension. It was made because the agencies stated they wished to develop a collaborative science and adaptive management program, and because of recent changes to the BDCP that would also allow for further collaboration for a better biological opinion. On January 30th, the U.S. District Court remanded the Fish and Wildlife Services request until March 1st, 2013. The legal argument used a rule to argue that applying the judgment prospectively is no longer equitable, and there was a 2-pronged test that they'll have to meet on March 1st. First, the moving party must show a significant change either in factual conditions or in the law warranting modification of the judgment. The arguments were made, there were 2 arguments made. First, the development of a collaborative science and adaptive management program was factually different. And second, that recent changes to the Bay Delta Conservation Plan. The court was unsatisfied with this first prong. But on March 1st, if
the court said, I noted among other things, that the federal and state agencies, having recommended the time frame that the court was viewing, now wish to extend it for 3 years, so they could study and develop an adaptive management plan, which I gather has been required by law for some time.
Right, it has in the court. The court was inclined to deny the motion based on those circumstances. It just remanded it and said that, okay, well, you can submit a revised proposal and try to convince us again on March 1st. But one of the quotes that the court wrote in its order was, why would it be less onerous or more beneficial to the public interest to interrupt this process and begin an entirely new and, as far as the court can tell, largely undefined collaborative scientific adaptive management process? And it also expressed that BDCP was considered in designing the amended judgment initially in the consolidated Delta and Salmonid cases. But if they can find a way to convince the court of this first prong that the factual circumstances did change, then they'll have to also prove that that those events were not anticipated at the time of the first entered decree. So we'll see what happens on March 1st, but the relevance to the council is the need to make decisions based on the best available science and the continuing struggle to best design and incorporate adaptive management and scientific collaboration in decision-making.
Members, you may recall 2, maybe 3 months ago, state and federal water contractors came in and gave us a briefing on their South Yolo project. This is in the existing floodplain and properties owned by the Westlands Water District, and they want to reconfigure the land for better environmental benefits. And they want that work to be credited as a biological opinion action in satisfaction of the existing law, the existing biological opinion, not the new one to be developed. And that was, I thought at the time, that was a reasonably important concession, that everyone was not waiting for BDCP to solve all problems, but actually moving on the existing law. And then the request for the 3-year delay came in without mention of any of the projects that might benefit species. And I don't know whether we sent a copy of this the court judgment to the members. It's about 7 pages long. It is in English and worth reading. And perhaps, Ms. Sondheim, you'd be good enough to forward just copies to the members of that judgment, and then let us know after the what happens on the March 1st hearing, at the March 1st hearing.
Of course.
If you would, please.
Absolutely.